Welcome to The Explainer. All right, today we're diving into something really cool, a framework that lets you build and coordinate your very own team of specialized AI agents. It's called CrewAI.
So, let's start with this. What if one AI just isn't enough for what you need to do? Have you ever tried to get a single general-purpose AI to write, say, a super detailed market research report? You're basically asking it to be a researcher, an analyst, a writer, and an editor all at once. And yeah, they're impressive, but it's kind of like asking one person to do the job of an entire department. Things are going to get missed.
And this visual just nails the core idea, right? On the one hand, you've got that solo AI, the generalist, trying to juggle everything, and, well, it gets overwhelmed. The result can be kind of messy, maybe even a little bit off. But then you look at the other side, an AI team. You've got specialists collaborating. One agent does the research, another one analyzes the data, a third one writes it up. Each one is a pro at its own thing, and together they produce something way more robust, way higher quality.
So, this is the exact problem that CrewAI was built to solve. It's basically a framework that lets you create a crew of these specialized AI agents, and they're designed to collaborate, to share information, and work together just like a really efficient human team would. Honestly, it's a huge shift in thinking. We're moving from just prompting an AI to actually managing an entire team of them.
Okay, let's use an analogy to make this super clear. Think about a really common workflow, creating content. With CrewAI, you can build a dedicated team for this. First, you might have a researcher agent. Its whole job is to scour the web for the latest, most relevant info. Then, once it's done, it hands off its findings to a writer agent. This agent's only goal is to craft a really engaging, coherent draft. And finally, you bring in the editor agent to take that draft, polish it up, check the style, the grammar, and just make sure it's perfect.
Okay, so that all sounds great in theory, but how does this AI teamwork actually happen? What's going on under the hood? Let's break down the core concepts that make it all work.
All right, first up, you've got your agents. The easiest way to think about these is as your individual AI employees. You give each one a specific role, like senior market analyst. You define their goal, and this part is really cool. You can even give them a backstory. You could say something like, you are a veteran financial analyst with a skeptical eye for market trends. It really helps shape their output. And of course, you give them tools, like access to a search engine or specific APIs, so they can actually do their job.
Next up are the tasks. These are pretty straightforward. They're the specific assignments you give to your agents. Each task needs a clear description, you have to define what you expect the output to look like, and then you assign it to the agent who's best suited for the job. So for example, you'd give the task, analyze Q4 competitor sales data directly to your market analyst agent. Make sense, right?
And the final piece of the puzzle is the process. This is all about the workflow, how the agents collaborate. The simplest and most common way is sequential. The researcher agent finishes its job, and its output becomes the input for the writer agent. Easy. But you can get way more complex. You could set up a hierarchical process, for instance. Imagine a project manager agent. It doesn't do the work itself. Instead, it breaks down a big goal and delegates smaller tasks to a bunch of other agents. It creates this really dynamic chain of command.
And look, this isn't just some theoretical thing. It's already out there making a real impact in a ton of different areas. People are using it to automate their entire content creation pipelines. They're doing super deep market research. You've even got folks using it to manage customer support tickets, where one agent triages the issue and another one drafts a response. And get this, some are even using it to have a team of AI developers write, review, and test code. It's pretty wild.
So knowing when to use a tool like this is just as important as knowing how to use it. And CrewAI, it really shines when you've got those complex, multi-step workflows, the kinds of jobs where you need different types of expertise to all come together. Basically, it's for those times when a single AI, no matter how powerful, just isn't going to cut it.
But, and this is important, it's not a silver bullet for everything. You have to know when not to use it too. If you have a simple, one-shot task, yeah, using a whole crew is total overkill. A single AI call is going to be way faster and cheaper. Also, remember that all this collaboration between agents takes time. There's a bit of latency, so it's probably not your best bet for real-time stuff. And you got to keep an eye on costs, because every action an agent takes can be a separate API call, and those can add up pretty quick.
Now, what's really amazing about this framework is just how accessible it is. Getting started is surprisingly straightforward. You basically just define your agents, give them their tasks, assemble them into a crew, and then you just kick off the process.
It's designed to take this really sophisticated, multi-agent concept and make it genuinely easy for developers to get up and running with.
So, the big question is, where does CrewAI fit in with everything else out there? Well, if you look at a comparison, you can see it hits a real sweet spot. A single AI? Super easy, great for simple tasks. Then you have something like LangGraph, which gives you ultimate flexibility, but it's a lot more complex to set up. CrewAI kind of sits right in the middle. It's built from the ground up for high specialization and multi-agent teamwork, but it's still pretty easy to get started with.
All right, so if you're going to take away one thing from all this, what should it be? I think it's the shift in mindset. With CrewAI, we're moving beyond just commanding a single AI. We're actually starting to manage an entire team of them. It's perfect for those really complex jobs where specialization is key. And the best part is, it wraps all that power up in a simple, role-based framework that just makes this whole world of multi-agent AI way more accessible than it's ever been.
And that really leaves us with a final, kind of provocative thought, doesn't it? As this technology for building and orchestrating AI teams gets better and easier to use, what human teams that we see every day in business are now, well, replaceable? What collaborative processes are now truly ripe for automation? It's a huge question, and I think it's one we're all going to be answering very, very soon.